Okay, we are recording. David, how you doing today?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah. I'm happy to be chatting to you. I'm excited.
Wonderful, mate. Where are you today?
I'm at home in London. Yeah. I was doing a bit of teaching this morning, which was good. Kept me busy. I got a bike recently to keep my fitness up after lockdown. So I was cycling there and back today, which is great. And then now this is my kind of reward, my bit of chill time, chatting to you about my music.
How are you finding cycling in London?
Yeah, it's a bit of a blood sport, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you got to keep your wits about you. Um, it's all right. I mean, actually, see the City Mapper app. I mean, this is so geeky, but like the City Mapper app's awesome because it tells you different routes to go. That doesn't mean you got to deal with white vans and stuff. So it's like more back roads. So it's pretty good. Or like via the canals that are around. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. There's a sort of 20-minute part of my journey, which is about an hour, that's hairy. But
yeah.
yeah, otherwise it's good. Yeah,
Um,
very hairy.
you mentioned lockdown there. Before we get on with the song choices, just to touch on that. We're recording this in October, and we're in a far more open and connected time now than we was at the start of this year and last year. How did you find that time, both personally and creatively?
Yeah. The first when it first happened, when was that now? But March, wasn't it? Yeah, March 2020. I actually really was grateful for the time. It's a weird contradiction, isn't it? Because something horrible was happening in the country and it was scary and upsetting. But I was grateful for the time to slow down. I think when you're a freelancer and you're in an industry that's so competitive, the rat race can get a bit much, and it was really nice to have it stop for a minute and just feel like you shouldn't be doing something. I always struggle with that. I always feel kind of, oh, I need to be working or I need to be doing something else. Oh. So that was really great to have that time. And then I got bored. um, and then uh, and then I got upset because we had to cancel our wedding. So that was like a couple of months down the line. We had to cancel that. That was painful. Reorganizing the whole thing, that was just irritating. And then I put myself to good use and we bought a flat because we basically had a bit of money then because we were cancelled the wedding till God knows when. So I was like, well, let's spend the money semi wisely. And I just said, can we do this? Went for it, and then we ended up buying a flat, which was just amazing, and that kept me busy. And then I kind of came out of it and actually found time to like exercise. And personally, I didn't find it too difficult. It was up and down like everybody. Creatively, it's been hell. I mean, I think actors are good at keeping themselves creative because we tend to expect to be out of work, but knowing that work isn't going to happen, that's been kind of tough, because what keeps you going is that there might be something around the corner, so you've got to stay prepared for it, like match fit, and knowing that for such a long time nothing was happening. I have to say I found the more recent months more difficult just because the world is limping back to life. What did Johnson say? God, the sleeping giant. Like, yeah, all right. It's coming back to life. It was like, but it's coming back to life slowly. And I was kind of like, oh, things are going to start really happening, but actually they're not quite. It's still going to take a while, and that's kind of tough to accept. But so it's up and down. I mean, I can't complain, but nor can I also say it was amazing. It was just up and down.
Yeah. Well, let's start the playlist.
Oh
And
God, okay.
and David, for track one, I'm going to ask you please to tell me the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
I think it's Purple Rain, Prince.
And why is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. It's an incredible record.
Well, because we're on Zoom, right? For those, I'm just looking at your face, going, "Is that cool or not?" I just don't know. Why did I choose it? To be honest, it just makes my spine tingle, and there's no other reason than that. I've got a kind of link to all of these songs that I've chosen, and most songs, I think, as most people do. And so there's a real clear image in my mind of being on a plane, flying back from London at 18. It was my first sort of major outing on my own, and I just auditioned at drama school. And I just really remember listening to this song. But that's not the reason why I chose it. I just think it makes my spine tingle. I just think it's really beautiful. I think it's got and I love him. And I just like, and sometimes I wonder if you can actually describe something that feels like it came from somebody's soul. And I don't mean to sound overly wanky about that, but I feel like that came out.
If you want to talk wanky about music, you're on the right podcast, mate.
Yeah, that's true. Very good. Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, I just feel like he was feeling something and it came out of it, and then you'll never not be able to experience that. Like I just hear that at the beginning of it, and I'm like, takes my breath away. I just think it's extraordinary. Oh, can I tell you, actually, this isn't a lie. I promise you, it isn't a lie. And you knew I sent you these songs last night, right?
Yeah.
This morning on my bike ride, I safely listened to one ear of something, and I went, I'm just going to go back to like Stu's back catalogue and have a listen. And I found your one with Gail Porter, and I went, oh my God, like I really think she's super cool. We kind of like share emojis with each other, like on Instagram. We haven't kind of like connected properly, but I think she's like super cool. And I was listening to that, and her her best intro is Purple Rain, Prince. Yeah. I honestly never fell off my bike. I was like, oh, what? Yeah, that was such a coincidence. I mean,
you've got to message her. You've got to message her about this because she's one of my best mates, Gal, and she'll love that. She'll absolutely love that. You got to do it. I will,
because every morning, on Twitter, she puts like her good morning and she does a good night as well. And I just think that is absolute gift game that she's got. And I just think I like kind of wake up to her and go to sleep with her gift games. And I just think she's super cool. I've admired that like since I was a kid. And then I nearly fell off my bike this morning when she said that, Purple Rain. I can't talk about the song as cool as she can because she's got, so much insight. But I just feel like it makes my spine tingle and I just love it. I love the whole song. I can't stop listening to it when it's on. It's one of those that I need people to shut up so I can hear the whole thing. And it makes me emotional in all kinds of ways. Not just emotional sad, just like it's all kind of feelings. I love it.
It's quite euphoric as well. I think my favorite bit, I'm not a fan of guitar solos apart from in Purple Rain. The guitar solo's just too good. And it's just that right at the end when he literally is almost howling, just like I did not do that justice there. I wouldn't. But it's so good, isn't it? So good.
And I think like even just everything that's attached to that song. So some of the footage you see of him playing it live, the video, the camera sort of looking up at him is like iconic kind of 80s cinematography or something. Just like we're going to come underneath and just show him standing backlit, like dong with his guitar. Like, oh yeah, I love him a lot.
Did you ever get to see Prince?
Never. No, never. And to be honest, I actually came to Prince kind of late. I don't know, because I was of the generation of, maybe that's not the right thing to say, not the generation of, but I was of the school of Michael Jackson is the one I want to be listening to.
Yeah.
And so it was later on that then I think it was like one of my dad's kind of like, I don't know, one of his mates or something maybe had like a Prince poster. I remember thinking, what's that? And then, not what's that? I'd sort of heard about it and I'm like, I'll just start listening. And then it was really like proper, maybe 16, 17 that I started actually listening to his music and thinking, you're amazing.
I think what's that is exactly the right way to approach Prince, because I'm of a generation where, I'm 48. So I was probably 10 or 11 when Purple Rain come out and the film come out. And all of a sudden, I was being exposed to Michael Jackson, Madonna, the real pop heavyweights. But I remember just seeing first of all, before Purple Rain, seen the video to Where Doves Cry. And which was the first kind of glimpse we saw of the film Purple Rain, seeing him on the motorbike. And I was like, what is that? Because he was like a Bowie. He looked like nothing else. He was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. It's amazing, whatever it is. And I want to know more.
Yeah. That's it. I want to know more.
Yeah. And anything that come out of his mouth or anything he picks up and played, and I don't use the word genius very often, but I think it's safe to say Prince was one.
Definitely. There was an interview he did where someone said like about him playing an instrument, and he went, "What one?" And then they were like, "Well, this one." And he was like, then he named all the chords, I mean, it was just like he just knew everything. He was an absolute master at his craft, and I just loved as well. Like I think the androgyny, if that's the right word.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just, as a young guy, and particularly like I'm gay and sort of worrying, God, about my sexuality. I remember just seeing this master and going, "You are like a whole thing I need to start to understand." Him and Bowie, you know, I was like, "What is this?" And Boy George, you know, and this, how can they look like that and be so cool and so worshipped? Like that for me was encouraging.
It's so weird looking back now, and I'm of an age where I remember first seeing George on Top of the Pops doing would have been "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me," I think, and going to school the next day and it being on the front page of like the tabloids, is that a boy or a girl?
yeah.
And it was like, and I remember just being so intrigued and fascinated that there was something like that wasn't tailor-made pop. It was like, oh, this is something different. This is, I'm drawn to something here. There's something more interesting here. There's depth to this. Like, I love the fact that I'm questioning what I'm looking at, and like, it was, and when you look at it now, and you just think, I suppose maybe because everybody's completely aware of who Boy George is now, it almost seems ridiculous to think the fact that everybody, is that a boy or a girl? And it was like, but that shows, I guess, where the country was at the time. But surreal. But then when you absolutely, and you look back at the interview, that famous interview with the Sex Pistols on Bill Grundy, where like, you know, they're swearing at him, and it was this like outrageous thing that they said fuck on the telly on this chat show, and you know, it was like, God, get these punks out of this, you know, out of the country. And it was like, he just said fuck on telly. It's like, now you just think, how is that such this huge thing? But I guess that's how we progress and move forward, and
the country was repressed at some point, and these artists just were like, excuse me, we're doing
exactly
it. I love that.
Exactly. Right, well, let's stay in the formative years, David. I'm going to ask you please to tell me the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please.
I really struggled with whether I should tell you, because this is the God's honest truth. It is My Heart Will Go On, Celine Dion.
Okay. See, the thing is, it's like, I don't want you to get this misconception that like this podcast is about cool records. This podcast is about the records that matter, and
it mattered to me. But I mean, I don't. Whether this is a cool podcast or not, it's so uncool to say that I was emotionally impacted by My Heart Will Go On. Although Celine is an absolute hero of mine, but that song, I mean, yeah. Oh God. But you know what? I am who I am, and that's the way I felt.
So tell me why this then.
So it's purely to do with Titanic. So I went to see that. I think I must have just have been about maybe 12 or 13 when it came out, that film. And I went with my mum and I went with my sister to see it. And I remember just not being able to cope with the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio, spoiler alert, died. Really not being able to cope with it. Really, and I think the whole love story between them, I just took way too like intensely. I guess that young teenager, the young gay boy in me was just like, this is too much. And then that song spoke to me on all kinds of levels. It felt like, again, young little queer boy just really like waking up to this. And I remember saying to my mum, when I heard this song come, it was out on single, CD. I was like, we need to go. So I made her drive me down to Asda and get that song. And I came back and I put it on in my room, and I remember crying to the song, like in my room. And I remember my mum, passing the room, like on the way to the toilet or something, and looking at me quizzically, like, that's a funny thing for a young boy to be doing. Just sobbing to, like, listening to Celine Dion. I still don't really know what the impact was. It's just something to do with the fact that those two were in love and he died. And I was probably in love with, what was his name? Jack Dawson or Leo DiCaprio, I think, probably at that time, and not
I think
quite
he broke a few
was.
hearts around then, didn't he?
Yeah. I was basically, I was a young teenage girl really at that point, wasn't I? So that's what was happening. Yeah, that was the first song. I mean, it doesn't now, but although there is an amazing club beat of it, a club version that I remember hearing in GAY some years later, and just going, whoever did this is a genius. They've turned this song into a club.
Oh, I'm glad that was a positive experience. You didn't just have to just fell to your knees in tears in the middle of the dance floor.
It was all good. I was uplifted. I was transcended, and I went for it on the dance floor in GY for sure. But yeah, it was just that song broke me for a long, long time. It really did.
Oh, wonderful. All right, well, we're going to stay in the formative years, David, for track 3. And I'm going to ask you, please, to tell me the song that reminds you of your time at school.
This one is Spitting Games, Snow Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
I love that song. And I knew it immediately when you sent the question. I went, right, that's the song. But I hadn't listened to it in a while. And so I played it again a couple of nights ago and just thought, oh God, everything about it. I think with that song, because I was at school, high school, during the American Pie film sort of time, right? So there was just that, we sort of wanted to be those Americans with the red plastic cups, sort of dancing around. And yeah, that was the cool thing for us.
Did you know what? Did that ever exist? Right, because that whole American Pie, Blink 182 kind of the red cups thing, these frat parties that look like the most rock. Do they actually happen?
I don't know. I need to meet an American who I trust and find out. I really hope they did, and I really hope they do, because otherwise Hollywood's selling us all kinds of lies, aren't they? Because I mean, I lived my life based on that promise that was what was cool. Yeah. Oh God, I hope they do. Blink 182, that was maybe the other band I was going to have a look at, but Spitting Games was just it. I have to say as well, I don't think I was very cool when I was at school. I was a bit of a geek. The cool crowd sort of accepted me enough. But I remember like this song being everybody's favorite, you know what I mean? And so it wasn't that I discovered it as like a really kind of lone person who just soundtracked his own adolescence. It was that everybody seemed to be listening to it. And so I got into it. And it kind of marked that time where we're all just sort of exploring, drinking alcohol and having parties and trying to be cool. And yeah, it was just so much fun. I just got this image of like jumping around my mate Khaled's loft to this song. Whether that happened or not, you never know. But in my head, it did. I feel like we partied. It's a cool song, though. I think really
absolutely.
Cool song.
And where was home then? Where was growing up?
So my childhood was at 2 parts. It was a place called Abram Hill in Cumbernauld. I was there till about 11, and then we went to Hamilton, which is where I consider home, I think, because that was, I guess, my adolescence was there. So yeah, Hamilton, just outside Glasgow, really. It's the sort of, the new town. Well, Hamilton isn't. Cumbernauld is a new town, kind of on the suburbs of Glasgow, and Hamilton's suburbs. Yeah, I mean, you would say Glasgow, really, but Hamilton. So my mate Khaled sort of lived down the road from me, and he had the kind of big house, you know what I mean? The one that you could actually have a party in. Yeah. His parents could hear the noise, but weren't disturbed by it, so you could get away with kind of. And they were quite cool. His parents, as well, I remember. They didn't mind us having another drink. Yeah, it was cool. I loved that. danced a lot. And actually, like, I met, well, because Snow Patrol, like, are mates of some of my mates, so like the band members are. And like, I remember actually finding myself in one of their music videos at a pub in Broadway Market. And I didn't sort of realize I was in their video like for a while, because we were all just drinking and they were just shooting it. I hadn't really realized that I'd signed a waiver saying it was okay to. I think I was just half cut. And I need to find out what song that was. I've not even got any idea. But I met them and was like, God, you guys were my childhood.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, I like them a lot. I need to go back actually and listen to a lot of their songs now.
Did you like school?
I did, yeah, I did overall. Yeah, I did. I loved school. I had a fun time. Like, I think I loved the gossip of it, and I loved like the what's next of it. I felt it was I put a lot of pressure on myself. I was quite clever, and I sort of made that like, oh, I better be really clever, and so I really studied hard, and so I missed out on kind of fun bits. But as I kind of got to 16 to 18, that's when I had my most fun. But it was always kind of tinged with this. I'm not going to say darkness, because it wasn't dark. It was just I felt different. I felt unusual, and it was definitely a secret, that I was gay, and I was always worried that I'd be found out with that. It wasn't too traumatic or anything, but I just remember always, because you start to realize that your sexuality, I guess, is 14, 15, 16, and knowing, oh shit, is what I thought at the time. And I just had to kind of confront that at the same time. And so that's why I always sort of, it was like 70% positive and about 30% kind of troublesome. But
was there anyone else in your circle of friends that had come out or anything at that point?
No. And I've met some teenagers recently, and like with the show that I've been doing, It's a Sin, or that we did It's a Sin, met some teenagers, and like they're out, and I'm like, fuck, you're so brave, like it's brilliant. Like we couldn't have done that. Nah,
yeah,
no way, not in the suburbs of Glasgow. No way. I mean, actually one of my best mates, Scott, he's gay, and he came out same as me after school, and he was my year. We didn't have. I think it would have been such a distraction. Had we come out, we wouldn't have been able to focus on school. We wouldn't have been able to, you know what I mean? Like it would have been all consuming. So it was better just to keep your mouth shut, get through it, and leave. And then honestly, I think the minute I left, I think I started uni in the September, and I was out by the 1st of October or something. Like thank God, I can reinvent myself.
It is like I definitely take positives from like my daughters have just left school, and even in what I would say sort of maybe second and third year, I don't know what year that's called now, but in senior school, and they had so many openly gay school friends, and it wasn't a thing, like, and I just think, because they actually went to the same school as me, and I just think that would have been a big thing, like when I was young. I'm not saying that's right that it would have been, but it would have been in the area that we live in, and it's just really progressive and refreshing to know that like it's just not a thing with my daughter's generation and their school, and that's really, really nice, and it is a pretty rough area that we live in, and it's a lot of the area around here is very, very right wing, and so it's nice to know that generation are completely progressive.
Well, that's it. I just think that because like hate crimes against the LGBTQ plus community, they're on the rise. Really, really worryingly so. But we've got this, like, it seems to be folk my age and younger, slightly younger, who are committing the crimes, as far as I can. I'm sure that's a sweeping generalization, but the younger people just don't seem to care all that negatively. They don't care all that much, and I think that's, thank God, that it's it's the sort of, maybe it's the last howl of the bigots, and that's going to kind of fade away soon. I hope so, because it is worrying that it's rising. But we'll see.
Okay.
Hmm.
First song you remember buying from a record shop, David?
This isn't cool either.
This one's can't be cool. You're not allowed to be cool on this one.
Yeah, that's true. It's okay. So this, I think this was on cassette. I think I bought this probably because I couldn't have afforded the CD. I've got a big, I feel like it was cassette. Men in Black, Will Smith. I still love it. I have to say, whenever it comes on, I will boogie. I mean, when you'd see him in that Alien in that video doing that bouncing, that's absolutely what comes out of me. Yeah, that was an absolute jam. I mean, I was obsessed with that film. I loved that film when I was a kid. I still do, to be honest. It's so good. And then, yeah, that song. I've got an image of buying it in a. No, it wouldn't have been because of where I'm from. I can't. I was racking my brain this morning trying to think of the name of the shop, but it must have been like an independent music shop. It had to have been because we didn't have big stores.
Yeah,
where I lived, so it was a tiny kind of wee shop. So, I mean, they don't exist anymore, do they? Independent
they're
selling
few and far
mainstream.
between. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It was where God, it'd be So anyway, I think I went in there and I remember being delighted that they had it because I was worried it was going to be sold out at the time, and so I bought the cassette. And my mum had driven me there, so we got in the car and I put it on in the car and just like it was brilliant. Cassettes, man. Oh, what? Do you know? It's just said they sent me the HBO people. They sent me a goodie pack of 80s stuff, and Callum, who plays Colin, was just like so in love with his like cassette player that they gave us, and I was just like this is my childhood, and I was sort of really pissed off that this has now become retro. Like, get to hell.
yeah, yeah.
Such a retro, and they've actually now done them to look like, so they're actually Bluetoothable now.
Yeah.
You can put a cassette in, and the one they sent was Gloria Gaynor. Put a cassette in and Bluetooth it somewhere, and it's proper like brand new, but it's now cool to have it. And I'm like, oh, there you go.
Who put the music together for that show?
Do you mean the composition?
Just who chose the records that were used, because it was so good.
Yeah, it has to. To be perfectly honest, I don't know the answer, and that's to my shame, really, because it's one of those things that it was sort of so post production. I was never introduced to that person. I don't believe, anyway. I'm really sorry if I did meet them. I don't believe meeting them, so I'm not sure. But I would. I mean, Russell did write a lot of songs into his writing. So things like when Jill is cleaning up for my character Gloria, there's a montage, more and more. I don't know how many more it is, more. That he specified it had to be that. I think because he wrote a lot of the scenes to that music. The songs that she and Richie, Ollie Alexander's character, that they sing together, that was chosen. Gloria, the song, I mean, that feels like it was so obvious, but that was our director, like in rehearsal, said to me, I'm going to really try and end the episode with Gloria. And it was like, oh my God, yeah, of course. Yeah, we hadn't really thought about it. Yeah. And we in rehearsals, we put together Spotify playlists of all our favorite songs and share them. And then when we were on set, they'd play things like, there was this one and never made it to the full cut, where they played, oh, Mickey, you're to bang, you blow my mind, Mickey. And it was us in the bar all dancing around. They did this whole shot, never made it to the final cut, but I just think that would have been so fun to watch us all dancing to Mickey. Anyway, that never made it. So I think it's a mixture, really, between director Peter Hoare and Russell TD and composers, and probably whoever they could get. Without costing a fortune. You know what I mean? But I mean, whoever it was, whether it was a collective mind or it's genius, isn't it? It's so good.
Oh, so good. Well, whilst we're talking about dancing, track 5, David, the song that soundtracked your year's clubbing. This,
people might shame me for it, but I'm not ashamed. This is Moves Like Jagger, Maroon 5. Absolute grace. I mean, this for me it just seemed to go on for years for me, this song. I was clubbing well before this came out. But this was a couple of years where I really went for it with this song, and it was my jam. And whenever it came on, my mates would look for me if I'm off at the bar or I've went off with some guy that I've picked up. Like they'd be like, "Okay, where's Dave? Because this is when he becomes extra," you know. and I'd push people off of the mini stage in the Two Brewers and clap them like, this is my time now."
Oh, wonderful!
I love this one.
And where was clubbing?
All over really, but London for sure. Like, I mean, I was in Liverpool for a year before going to London. Had a good time there. Learned how to go out. I was only like 18 there, but London's been my clubbing days. And for me, it's Clapham really. The odd time in Soho, of course, like you can't not. But Soho just was too expensive. It felt like.
Yeah.
So Clapham was my clubbing days for sure, and specifically the Two Brewers. I just adore that place. I went back in recently. I watched a cabaret act with my mum and a couple of my mates, and then the manager there kind of clocked me and said, "Oh my God, are you Gloria from Sin?" I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, do you want somewhere to sit? So actually that'd be great because my mum's getting her feet are getting sore now. So they said, "Oh yeah." And I remember thinking, okay, this is really cool. Like I've always fought to try and get a seat in that place. I'm like, now we could actually sit down for a bit. Two Brewers for me. I was there every Saturday night. There was a period where I was in Shoreditch as well. Now what was that place called? The Joiner's Arm.
Yep.
Do you remember that place? Like a meat market, that wasn't it? Loved it. That was a good year. At one point, I went there like 3 times a week.
So was GAY or Pop Stars on the radar?
Pop Stars was there once, I remember, because that we just started drama school.
Was that at the Scala then?
Oh God, King's Cross.
Yeah, Scala. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it seemed to shut down the next time I looked. It felt like. Yeah, GY Lake was a big one for me. That was always a place I looked forward to going. And I actually was lucky that we managed to hit GY Astoria before that shut. That was brilliant. Oh my God, we saw what a venue. I mean, it was just beautiful, wasn't it? Like, is that still there? Like, what have they done to that?
No idea what it is now.
I know it's not a club, but you've got this cavernous theatre that they turned into a club. It was amazing. Like, what have they done to it? Anyway, we had a great time there. Heaven a little bit for sure, of course. Like, but they were the big nights. The problem is because I went to drama school in Sidcup, and we lived in Streatham afterwards, and then I was in East London, and then I've moved back to kind of South London. Now I live in I was in Kingsville, and now I'm in Sutton. It's always the night bus was too long.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So we'd just hang out in Clapham a lot. And then I guess like when I started treating myself to a taxi of a night out, that's when I would have the big night out in town and we'd go to those places. Yeah. For sure. I love them.
So, you know, in what I didn't really sort of touch on, which I like to always ask guests, is like, in them kind of sort of formative years at school and you know the years that follow kind of college years and stuff, like, did you know what you wanted to be?
As in, yeah, I did. I always wanted to be an actor when I was younger. Like, it was the thing I was really good at. I remember knowing people liked me more for doing it, if you see what I mean. Like, they laughed a lot. Or they'd really listen to me. And I was that was something I perceived and thought, oh, why did they do that? And then that was really young, like 5 years old, and then kept doing it. There's a period where I was going to be a doctor. I remember speaking to my teachers at school and was like, I think I'm going to drop drama and do double sciences so I can do medicine. And my drama teacher, Miss Burns, Sarah Burns, she said to me, like, I wouldn't normally do this, but I think you need to push acting. I think you've got it in you. Really
that's
sweet.
So important, and stuff like that.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like it's a conversation that rings. She probably won't remember she said it, I'm sure, but I really remember it. It like just someone saying, not trying to convince you, just going, this is what I think of you. It felt very personal. And when a teacher is a teacher to you and they sit
But they
above you as
believe
an
in your
authority.
abilities.
Yeah. And just sort of enough to pull you aside and have a positive conversation with you, rather than just like you messed up your homework or you need to buck up your ideas, to actually say, I think you're excellent. That was so much. And then I went to drama school. For me, it's been quite a boring path in that sense, that I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I set my mind to it. It's not been a straightforward path. My God, it's been bumpy. A lot of rejections and everything. Like, my God, like anybody. But I've always known I've wanted to do it. Yeah, I have to say, I nearly gave up. That sounds a bit like, I'm sure every actor's done this, but I was going to be a social worker. Literally, honestly, a couple of months before I got SSN, I'd been offered to do the program, and I was really pleased with that. I was like, yeah, this feels like the right path for me to be a social worker. I really want to do it. And then SSN came around the corner, and I thought, well, you started this journey, you might as well see it through, see what happens. And then things went well. So I haven't rolled social work out. We'll see. But I'm an actor for now.
Was you a confident kid?
I think I appeared confident. Yeah. I now know that it was a lot of it was a great defense mechanism, and a very, very what I'm looking for, a very clever one. Like, I was able to kind of really put that on a lot.
Sure.
But yeah, my confidence now feels honest. Maybe authentic is the word that I'm aiming for. But yeah, as a kid, I was always outspoken, and I was always able to I just knew that's what people wanted me to be, so I did it. Yeah. God, good questions. You keep making me. I'm rubbish at that, because I then go, was I? And then I sort of drift off, and that's not good for podcasts. Do you know what I mean? Like, too many pauses.
You're doing wonderful, David. Well, let's talk about home, and I'm going to take you there now, because for track 6, I want a favourite song from an artist from your home county, please.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Prospect Street, The Big Dish. Okay. Do you know it?
I don't. Tell me more.
I don't. It's one of those songs I don't know hugely well. I know the song really well. I don't know much about the band hugely, and I don't know much about its origins. I was in a record shop in Chichester. It must have been about 2014, 15. And I found this album. I can't even remember. It's in this cupboard behind me here. And it had a picture of Glasgow, all these people in Glasgow, and it was a compilation. It was put together in the 80s. It's only about 8 or 9 songs, and this is one of them on it. And I remember hearing this song, just been like, I don't know, everything about it felt like Glasgow to me, and everything about it felt like Glasgow in my childhood. So I don't know whether I've heard this song subconsciously when I was younger, and it's got a moment, but I just love it. So I did a bit of research, and the Big Dish, I believe, are from Airdrie, the band members. And Airdrie is, my dad's side of the family all come from Gartcosh, which is a small kind of town outside of Coatbridge. And Airdrie is basically another one of those small towns near Coatbridge. So Airdrie's I've got a lot of kind of family members that have lived there or nearby for a lot of time. And so maybe that's why I've heard it. I was thinking the other day, going, maybe somebody played this in a record when I was a really young kid.
Yeah.
That would have been like when my mum and dad were together. So that would have been 1 or 2 years old. I wonder if it was on, but that sounds a bit mad, but it's just a beautiful song. And I just would encourage anyone to listen to it. It's really uplifting, which is unusual for I think any music coming out of Scotland in the 80s. It was mostly kind of either anarchic or rebellious or just woeful about poverty. Whereas this is saying things are going to be okay. I don't know. I'm not sure that's what lyrics saying, but the music's saying it. Yeah, it's brilliant. Lovely song.
When you spoke about kind of the ride that he's acting, that as a career, and how it can present rejection, because it's such a tough industry. Confidence aside, would you say you're driven?
Yeah, I would definitely. And sometimes I worry if that's like a sin, like is it bad that I've got a level of ambition like that? Because it does mean that I put myself first at times and my career first. Um, the business is something I favour at times over um, personal health, relationships. Like I don't think to such a detrimental effect, but a detrimental impact. But I am very driven. I know exactly what I want at times, and I know where I want to go with it, which can make me very stubborn. But I don't know. I feel that way of, but I feel like I'm really. It sounds arrogant, but I really don't mean it this way. I do think I'm really like. It's one of those things, if you feel like deep down, I'm quite good at something, and I do think I'm quite good at it, so I just really want to do it, and I
Yeah.
kind of get pissed off if nobody lets me. So I put my foot down and hope for the, like, as I'm pedal to the metal and go for it. So I do feel very driven. Yeah, I really go for it. That's instilled in me from my mum. Like, to be honest, I think most Glaswegians in particular are like, there's this that kind of like, we've got to get on with it, and you just don't let anyone take the piss out of you. You just got on with it and go for it.
Do you think that feeds into one of the first things you said at the beginning about when lockdown hit? Like you have that mentality of like, well, I can't have like an afternoon off. I've got to do something. Do you think
Yeah,
that's kind of like a byproduct of that drive, that incessant need to feel like, well, I've got to work, like I've got to do
yeah,
something, like.
yeah, definitely. Because otherwise you're lazy. That's what my brain tells me.
But it's
If
bollocks, though,
I'm
isn't
not,
it? It,
it's
it that
bollocks. Yeah,
it's
total bollocks.
absolute bollocks, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, total
uh,
bollocks.
a, one of the guy that actually got me into doing podcasting is he's now an actor actually called Scroobius Pip, and
Mm.
and he was he said to me the other day, like he put a little post up about like, don't wear it as a badge of honor, like how hard you work, like how many
Yeah,
hours you work. It's like, and I was like, yeah, that's a really good point, that like.
totally.
Uh, and he says to me loads of times, he's like, just have the afternoon off, man. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what? And he's like, just have
I
the
know.
afternoon off. And like, and he's super driven. And like,
Yeah.
but when you do sort of step back and think about it, you think, well, it ain't the end of the world, is it, to have a day off? Like,
And like the thing is, I'd say that to anybody, have an afternoon off. Like, gather yourself, relax. Like,
yeah,
more work or more or high quality of work will occur from you being rested. But
yeah,
I know that consciously, but my body can't sit
yeah.
still. I've got to just keep doing stuff. I was listening to, Michaela Cole. She won, was it an Emmy recently? And she said, um, in her speech, she was talking to writers saying that success and visibility are almost feel like the same thing now, or that one relies on the other. And she said, actually turn off your social media and turn off everything else and see what you get in the silence. I was just like, I felt very moved by that, because it felt like, I was like, yeah, that's sometimes what I need to do, is just
Yeah.
be quiet and retreat at times. I'm getting better at it, I have to say. Like, I'm definitely, lockdown was great for that. It did teach me
Yeah.
to, it was literally, I'm being told to stay at home. So if you've got nothing you can work on right now, why not relax, watch those films you've been meaning to watch forever, read the books you've been trying to catch up on, do stuff that's going to nourish you and enrich you. Yeah, rather than sort of being like a hamster in a wheel. A teacher said that to me once when I was at drama school, that I reminded them of a hamster in a wheel. Sometimes I could just run around and not really get anywhere, which is true at times. Yeah, so that drive can be kind of both my savior, because it keeps my eye on the ball and it keeps me going, but it can also just really wreck me, and I have to then
Yeah.
sleep for days because it's just, I've just battered my head against a brick wall from play. It's ridiculous.
Okay. Last track, David, I'm going to ask you, please, to play Tastemaker and Influencer. And for track 7, a song that you think many people may not know that you would like them to hear.
This is called Orange Trees by Rose Betts. It's the most beautiful song. Yeah, I think it might be one of those beautiful songs I've ever heard. So Rose is actually the daughter of one of my friends, and that's the only reason why I discovered her music. But it's not the reason why I think it's the most beautiful song or that she is extraordinary. I just can't quite believe that I know her dad that well, because she's just amazing. She's so proper as well. She's soul and integrity, and she only does what's right for her. And this is one of those songs that there's a story behind it, which I won't tell you, because I don't know that I'll get it right, and I want anyone who's interested in listening to the music to research it so that it's accurate. But it's a hauntingly beautiful story that what it was that inspired her to write this song. It's just gorgeous. I don't know what else to say about it really. It just every time I hear it, I'm moved by it. I love all her music, to be honest. It's actually her 30th birthday at the weekend, which I forgot all about until I told my partner these are my song choices, and then he went, "Oh my God, we've got their 30th birthday at the weekend." I'm like, "What? We need to go and buy a present." I've not got time. So that was weird. I had no idea. So yeah, she's just wonderful, 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 wonderful. Orange Trees by Rose Betts. Please, people, listen to it.
Wonderful.
And all of her songs, because she's not a big artist yet. Although having said this, she did sing the opening credits song for Justice League recently. Like, what?
Just throw that in there.
Do you know what I mean? I was on the phone to her dad and I said, "How's Rose getting on?" And he went, "Well, listen to this." And then he told me, and I'm like, "Ah." And actually, I think she may have won like a Globe or something by accident, but nobody knows about her. Like,
Yeah.
well, people do, but it's not the sort of level that she should be recognised as
Yeah.
the kind of Adele level, I think. So, yeah, please listen to that song and her other tracks. She's amazing.
Well, we can make that a little easy for everyone because we put together a Spotify playlist to accompany the podcast.
Yes.
With all your tracks on there. Yeah, don't go careful with Celine Dion. You know, I don't want anyone listening to have to have their parents walking past their bedroom door looking in thinking, why is he sobbing uncontrollably on the floor?
I know. Just like
approach with caution, this playlist, people.
That's it. You got to be careful. Don't listen while driving, guys. It's too much. Or on a bike, you'll fall off.
And so, David, I mentioned at the beginning that we're in October, coming toward the end of a year that started quite bleak, and is hopefully going to be a far more happier place the second half of this year. What are you looking forward to from the rest of this year personally, and what's happening professionally?
Personally, I'm most looking forward to Christmas because last year's Christmas was silly.
Yeah.
I was at home. I mean, I was with my partner, which is a blessing, and he wasn't working because my partner's a paramedic, and so normally he's working, and he wasn't, and it was great, and we had a lovely time together. But I missed being with my family up in Scotland. I missed seeing his family. I missed seeing my nieces. So I'm really looking forward to Christmas for sure. I'm looking forward to like that whole thing. Christmas seems to start November through December, and you can kind of go for drinks with people and nice dinners, and the markets start. And since I'm not one for Christmas at all, I sort of actually find it kind of irritating because everything becomes busier. You can't do anything. But this year, I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, and I'm trying to think that as I'm speaking, I'm going, "Oh my God, if I get anyone's wedding, that I should say I'm really looking forward to that." I don't think I do. And also my own wedding, though. I mean, that's next year, but next July, I'm looking forward to finally getting married and maybe having a holiday if we can still go. Yeah. Professionally, things are still forming themselves. Really, it's bizarre. I had this huge injection of energy that came from the release of It's a Sin and everything that's come from that, but the industry was shut and remained shut for so long, and then only now is it opening back up. So there's this kind of overwhelming barrage of auditions to do, which just takes quite a long time, to kind of really do the work properly. So that keeps me busy. We'll see what comes. It's still a bit daft. I found out this week that I'm nominated for a Scottish BAFTA.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I'm just like, so I'm still coming to terms with that. That's coming up. I forgot about that. Oh my God, that's bad. Yeah, that's on the 20th of November. I've got that ceremony.
Well, that's another thing you can talk to Gail Porter about, because she won one last year.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Yes! Oh my God! Okay, we're going to be best friends. I can see it coming. Yeah, I bet maybe I'll just like call her up, like, hi. Yeah, I will definitely drop her a message if she. Although I'll probably be one of those creeps that sort of drops into DMs and she's like, "We're okay to exchange emojis, but you're not up to my level yet, Dee, to have a conversation. You got to work.
Oh, she's the best, mate. She's lovely.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's fun and interesting few months, I think. We'll see.
Oh, wonderful. And if people want to keep up to speed with everything you're up to, where's the best place to follow David?
Either Twitter or Instagram. I like both equally, and I sort of shout a bit more on Twitter about things that piss me off. So I'm David Carlyle, which is not the town spelling, CARLYLE _ That's my social media handles. You can get me there. Yeah, or that's about. I mean, yeah. Where else? Or you can come to my front door.
Let's not give away your address on this.
No, we won't do that. But you know, I'm still relatively unemployed, so I'm quite happy for
Pop round for a brew.
Yeah.
Oh, David, it's been delightful talking with you today.
Totally.
Thanks so much, mate. It's been an absolute joy.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, mate.
Oh, thank you. Right, I'll just press